y'all, this is Theresa.
And Mark.
And we're your hosts for
Tell Me That Story,
where we'll tell y'all true stories of real life happenings.
so stick around. You never know what you might hear. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tell Me That Story. Glad you could join us today. I hope everybody's had a good week. It's been a good week here. It's still hot. It rained this morning, and then the sun came out, and it got steamy. So we're thankful to be inside where it's nice and cool today.
That's right. I have had a wonderful week. I've been glad that I could have a little time. I asked you if you would take me to my favorite place this week one day, and you did, and you were such a sweetheart, so I'm going to have to give you kudos for that. So that was at a place that we call the Chimneys. It's actually a park area and in the Smoky Mountains, and of course we live in the Smoky Mountains, and the Chimneys is just my favorite happy place. Makes me so happy. I love to be there, and I can just go and sit. I say I just need to go sit on my rock, and then I can just be good after that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. It's a mountain stream that actually comes out of a spring out of the mountain, and it's just huge boulders and beautiful clear water, and it's just a really peaceful place. But this time of year, it's overrun with people, so...
It was overrun by people. It is overrun, but it was so nice. We actually met some new people and made some friends this particular day, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful visit that we were able to have, and it was nice.
Yes, it was. It was very nice. So, in some of our previous podcasts, we've talked about spiritual discernment, and, you know, I always assumed that if a person was saved, they had spiritual discernment.
Yeah, you would think that. I always kind of thought that too.
But I found out that's not the case.
Right.
Spiritual discernment is a gift. It's a spiritual gift. And for those of you who don't know what spiritual discernment means, let me read you. There are several definitions, but this one is probably the best one I've read. It explains it better than most that I've read. So this says, the Holy Spirit gives the gift of discernment to enable certain Christians to cleverly recognize and distinguish between the influence of God, Satan, the world, and the flesh in a given situation. I think that's a very good definition of discernment. I can honestly say that I believe having discernment has kept us out of some bad situations at times.
I totally agree. And I think we even touched on that just a tad. We were talking about even going into a town. Sometimes we would pull into a town and we were like, oh, we're not staying here. I mean, that comes from the spirit of discernment.
Yeah, you just get it's just a feeling. It's, for people who have never experienced it, it's hard to describe. But it's just like, you know.
Yeah, and I say some people, I believe that they have the gift of discernment, but they don't know to call it that. Maybe they call it their gut feeling.
Right, right. Trust your gut.
Right,
yeah.
And then some people may actually even use the term, which I don't like to use, but they may use the term vibe.
Yeah, it gave me a bad vibe.
Yeah. So I believe that we need to use the term discernment.
Right.
Or, I mean, even if you had that gut feeling, but I particularly just don't care for that word. Gave me a bad vibe.
So this story we want to share today, it's dealing with discernment. And Teresa's going to have to help me with this story. I'm getting old, and this has been a long time ago. And I can remember.
You're going to go ahead and just admit that you're getting old?
Yeah, I'm getting old. And there's certain things that I remember, but I don't remember detail as good as you do.
I remember this story so very well. I've told it. And well, we've told it. So the setting was in, I'm going to go ahead and say Ozark, Alabama.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It was.
And we were coming from out of, South Mississippi. That's where we were located. And go ahead and tell what it was.
Well, we had been booked to sing at this gospel music center, I guess you would call it.
Yeah.
We went in this place, and the walls were absolutely plastered with groups posters that had sung there over the years, and there was thousands of them.
It was like wallpaper. There were so many groups, pictures. I mean, it was like that their walls were just wallpapered of these groups' pictures.
Literally every group I've ever known of had their picture on the wall in that place. It was crazy how many people had been there.
Yeah.
And it's such a tiny place. It's out in the country, out in the middle of nowhere.
Now, I'm going to tell y'all this. We're not calling the name of it. I don't want to call the name of it.
I'm not going to say the name. No, I don't want to, because the place, as far as I know, it's still in business. I don't want to say the name for different reasons.
So we're going to do our best not to stumble on that and get.
But people that have been there that hear this will probably know what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it'll be easy to figure out.
Yeah, but anyhow, so we were booked to sing at this place, and the girl that was singing with us, her name was Christy, and it was me and you and Christy, and that day, I can't remember exactly how many hours that it was from the house, but we got up, we got our fresh showers, we were completely dressed, except for all that you were going to do was just change your shirt and just a little bitty things, just kind of wash up quickly. But we were pretty much ready. And when we got there, Christy ended up having to have a shower there. And so we were going to stay in the back part of that building. And we walked in and seeing all those pictures all over the walls, it was like, wow, it was kind of just a little overwhelming of wow. And we started unloading the equipment and we went on to the back.
So let me give a kind of the setting of this place. It was a church.
Right.
It was an old church. And when you walk in, it's just like a church sanctuary with a platform and a stage and all.
Yeah.
Well, then at the back of the platform, there was a door that went into the back of the church, and they had sleeping quarters and a kitchenette and a bathroom with a shower.
Yeah, they told us not to book a hotel room or anything like that. We could just stay there.
Right.
And we could stay there for free. And back there when you travel and that kind of stuff, you didn't always get a whole lot of money. So that was great to cut expenses. So that's what we decided we would do. And we didn't think anything of it. And so, yeah, go ahead, Mark.
So we got our equipment set up and we went in the back. And as soon as we went in the back, I was like, ooh, this don't feel right back here.
Right, absolutely. It felt really bad. But
it didn't feel that way in the sanctuary at all.
It didn't. And I don't know if people don't normally stay back there too awful much, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So anyhow, so Christy had to get a shower.
And she was still a fairly new Christian. She hadn't been saved for very long.
Right. And we might need to tell that story about her sometime and how she ended up coming to be with us.
I think that would be a great idea.
When we were out singing. We'll go through that another time because that's a very interesting story as well. But so this girl was with us. She was a new Christian and had not been a Christian for very long. But she needed to get a shower, and she would depend upon us. She would look at me to see how I'm feeling about certain things because she knew that we had the gift of discernment. She had the gift of discernment too. She didn't really know what to call it, but she knew what she felt. So she goes back there and she gets in the shower. And in the meantime, I look at Mark and I'm like, I think we're probably going to need to pull that couch or something over close, and we're going to all have to stay in the same room or something because this feels horrible and there's no way we're getting sleep. We're not going to get sleep tonight.
Yeah, I remember saying, I'm not going to fight this all night. It was bad. It was really bad, heavy feeling back there.
Very bad. And so she's in the shower, and you and I are kind of checking things out, like why is this bad? What's going on here?
Yeah, so there was a hallway that led from the sleeping area and the little kitchenette area, and there was a doorway in this hall. I'm assuming it went into a bedroom. I don't know because I didn't open it.
No.
And here's why I didn't open it. On the door there was a photograph of somebody in a wheelchair, and it was the room. They had a little sticker on there saying we dedicate this room to such and such, and it had his birth date and his death date.
Yeah.
Well, I grabbed the knob to open the door, and it was like, no, do not open that door.
I remember that.
I said,
that.
Oh,
You
I
had
can't
your
even
hand
open
up
the
there,
door.
And you just kind of
Yeah, I wouldn't even open the door. It was like like the Holy Spirit was saying, don't open that door.
Oh, yeah.
Do not. So we walked on to the end of the hall, and at the end of the hall, there was a doorway.
Yeah.
And you walk, it wasn't on the left or right, you walked right into the doorway.
Yeah.
And I had something happen right there that has never happened to me before, and hasn't happened since. I opened the door. Let me see if I can explain the way this place was laid out. So you had a hallway that kind of teed into another hallway. So when you open the door, there was a room that goes to the left and to the right. It was just a long, narrow room, almost like another hallway, but wider.
Yes, exactly.
And in this room, there was folding tables and chairs, like maybe for people to sit and eat or something. Well, I was looking in this room at these tables and chairs, and I saw what only thing I can call is a vision.
Well, you said it was kind of like it was just all of a sudden the scene changed.
The scene changed from looking at tables and chairs to looking at what I would consider like a war hospital.
Yeah.
It was like a scene from MASH.
But you
It was
said
like these beds and military and like drip stands and it was like I was looking at a military hospital during the war.
But you said it was black and white.
And it was black and white, yeah. It was like a scene from an old war movie. And all of a sudden I snapped out of it and I was back looking at tables and chairs and I thought, man, that was weird.
Yeah.
Why did I see that?
And you said something to me about it.
And I told her about it and we thought, well, that's kind of strange. But then
Chrissy's still in the shower,
Chrissy's still in the shower. So we go back to the seating area, the sleeping area, and we sit down, and Christy comes out of the shower.
And then, I mean, we're just, finishing getting ready, and then Mark and I had been discussing what are we going to do. We know we're not going to get any sleep tonight, but we didn't want to scare Christy, so we had discussed how we're not going to tell her anything that we feel. Anything that we sense, we're not going to tell her. And so she
Right.
got out, and then we were supposed to sing at the guy's church that had us there.
Yeah, the guy
next
that booked
morning.
us. Yeah, the guy that was in charge of booking the groups for there that was kind of over the place.
Yeah, and we had not met. Let's see. I don't think he had gotten
We had
there
not
yet.
met
The
him,
door was
no.
open. I think they just left it open for us.
Yeah.
So we had not met him yet or anything like that. But
He assumed we were going to spend the night there.
right. So we went ahead and we did our singing. We got, fixed and everything. And we did our singing. And Chrissy really didn't say anything too much at the moment then. We were in a hurry by then.
Yeah.
Had to get things set up, had to get the sound check done. I think you were, telling us to come on and get the sound check done. And so then we did our singing, and we decided we would go down the road and get something to eat. We were at a restaurant.
Yeah, we had to get our equipment torn down and loaded up too because we had to sing the next morning.
Yeah, we hadn't loaded our equipment up yet. We went down to the restaurant, and we were sitting there. Do you remember? I don't remember what restaurant that was, but we were sitting there.
I don't remember the restaurant.
And Christy says, something felt really weird over there. She's like, and she was saying a few things like that, and we were trying not to say anything. And so then she said, I got my shower, and I felt like somebody was watching me.
Yeah.
And when she said that, I remember just tucking my head down and looking at my plate. I just tucked my head down because I didn't want her to see me. She was sitting directly across from me.
Yeah.
And I just tucked my head down. And when I did that, what happened, Mark?
Oh, she just lost it. She freaked out.
Like she screamed, didn't she?
Yes.
I knew, and I'm gonna try not to talk to the level that she was talking, but she was talking so loud. And she was like, I knew something was wrong with that place. I knew it. And she just started like she's crying and kind of really high pitched at the same time.
It freaked her out.
Yeah, very dramatized about it. And I can't stay there. I just can't stay there. And I was thinking, oh, goodness, now that she has definitely acknowledged that she sensed it and realized that we sensed it so much too, there's no sleep happening tonight.
Yeah, and I looked out the window. We were sitting by a window in the restaurant. I looked out the window, and there was a Jameson Inn just right up the street, and I was like, yep, that's where we're staying tonight.
I remember I was like, we're not staying there tonight. I don't care what we've said.
And this bathroom where the shower was, it was apparently added on later because there was no ceiling. It was walls, just 2 walls, 8-foot walls, and no ceiling.
Right. It was freaky.
Yeah, it was a little bit weird. It was. Yeah. I didn't shower in there, but I did go in there to use the restroom and wash up a little bit, and I noticed something like, there's no ceiling in this room.
I know.
It was just like 2 walls, and that's fine. You can't see in it from the top, but you could tell it was added on afterwards.
But you did. That's the way that I can describe it to you is it felt like you were being watched.
Yes.
That's the feeling Absolutely. That you got. Like a real heavy, heavy, heavy feeling that you were getting.
Like the walls had eyes.
Yes, that you were being really watched. And so we got back and let me tell you something. Honey, we tore down that equipment as fast as we possibly could.
Yeah.
We jerked that stuff out of there and threw it in that equipment trailer, and I turned the heat off. We turned all the lights off. I made sure everything was off, locked the door and everything, and we had made a plan.
And we didn't realize that was a problem.
We made a plan. Yeah, that ended up being a problem. We made a plan, though, and we were going to just get up early the next morning and come back and be in the parking lot because he was supposed to meet us at a certain time so we could go down and, go to his church and set up equipment there.
And he thought we were spending the night there.
Right. So we made a plan. We were going to get up early. We're going to be ready. We're going to go sit in the parking lot and we're done waiting on him there. And that's what we did. Yeah. And we got back and we're sitting there and he pulls up. And I was like, he won't even have to go in, we've got it done. I've already got it all locked up, So we rolled down the window. We've got it locked up and everything. Well, little did we know.
Yeah, he decided he needed to go inside.
Yeah, unfortunately. So
why did he need to go in? I don't remember.
His words were that he said, I have actually had people that have stolen from me before.
Yeah, he wanted to go in and make sure nothing was missing.
Sure that nothing was. I was thinking, what? I mean, you've offered for us to stay here. You want us to go to the church with you and sing the next morning, and you've let us stay, and now you want to go make sure we hadn't stolen anything? It was just really weird. We never had nothing like that happen before. Yeah. I don't think that was the purpose of him going in.
I don't either.
But when he went, I said, oh, no.
Because it was cold.
I turned off the heat.
Yep.
He's going to know we didn't stay.
Yep. And I don't know why we cared. I mean,
I don't know.
It didn't really matter.
Know. But I just didn't want to hurt his, we was trying not to hurt his feelings. We were fixing to go sing at his church. I mean.
Let me tell you what I think. This guy kind of gave me a weird feeling anyway.
He did.
And we've discussed this, and I'm just going to come right out and say it.
Go ahead.
I think there's cameras in there.
I do too.
I think there's a camera in the bathroom.
And I think that he went in there to get the tape.
Yep.
Or whatever it was.
The SD card or whatever.
Because at that time, it wasn't as the technology, what it is now.
Right. I don't think he went in to see if we'd stolen anything. I think he went in to get his tape.
I did too.
I can't prove that.
Yeah.
But it's going to take a lot to change my mind.
Me too. I'm with you.
So the next morning we go and we sing at his church.
Right. So we went ahead and go and sang.
And after church, he takes us for lunch.
And that was a little different too. But yeah, and he wanted you to ride in the car with him. And I drove our vehicle.
Yeah. So I asked him, I don't remember if I asked him in the car or if I asked him at the restaurant.
You were asking him in the car.
Okay, in the car on the way, I asked him, I said, what is the history of that building? Y'all hold on to your hats. He said, well, it started off as a military infirmary, as a hospital. The place where the building was sitting was an old Civil War battle site.
Right.
And it was actually a military hospital.
Yeah.
Took me back to the vision I saw.
Yes.
He said, and then they added on to it and turned it into a church in later years.
But let's hang on 1 second, Mark. Let's reiterate what you saw in that room. It used to be a military.
It used to be a military hospital, and that's exactly what I saw when I opened that door.
Absolutely. So go ahead.
So he said in later years, they I'm assuming the back part where I saw that was maybe originally the hospital, because the rest of it was obviously built to be a church. It looked like a church. So I'm thinking maybe in later years they added on to it and turned it into a church. But for some reason, as time went by, the church, I guess, disbanded or something, and it was just sitting vacant building.
Yeah.
Well, he said this group came in from another state and wanted to know if they could use that building to hold, quote, unquote, church services. So they said, yeah, that's fine. So they went in there and they started holding church services, and come to find out, it was a satanic cult. They were having satanic services in that church.
Right.
So
I wonder how many people that has sang there knows that.
Probably very few.
I think so. Yeah.
There's no telling what went on in the back of that place.
No.
No telling at all. So, that that's just really weird to me.
Me too.
I have no doubt that's why we felt what we felt.
Right.
There's still stuff hanging around there from all those years, and I still believe there was a camera in there.
I definitely believe there was a camera. I cannot help but wonder so strongly what was in the room with the guy's picture.
Oh yeah,
because that was the very worst. You couldn't even open the door. It was so bad.
Yeah, I couldn't go in there. I just could not make myself open that door. But going back to the thing about discernment, I always assumed that people, once they were saved, had discernment. But we talked to a lady that sings in a group, very anointed, very spiritual group, very, very much anointed. And as a matter of fact, I think she preaches. She preaches,
too. Yeah, she preaches too.
And we had said something about singing there. Boy, I almost said the name of the place.
Right, that we couldn't stay in the back.
I said we couldn't stay back there, and she said, "Oh, we've stayed back there several times. We never noticed anything."
I know.
I was like, "Really? Are you kidding?"
I know. I was like, "Oh my goodness, are you kidding? How in the world?" And that confused me, because I was like, how can you have such an anointing like that and not feel all that stuff to where it was so heavy? It wasn't like it was just a little bit. It was so heavy.
Yeah, it was strong. It was strong.
How could you not sense that?
It felt like every wall had eyes that were staring at you when you were back there.
Yeah.
I didn't like it at all. But that's just an example of what discernment will do. I'm going to share another story about discernment. This is something I had actually forgotten about, and I was thinking about it a little while ago, and we were actually talking about it. Several years ago in a little community where I lived, there were two guys that were best friends. I mean, where you saw one, you saw both of them. They were always together. And everybody knew the guys were into drugs, and they were not really good people. But everybody knew them. They never bothered anybody. They were nice guys. They just had crazy lifestyles. Well, one of the guys came up missing, and for several days, a couple weeks, I think, there were people looking for him everywhere.
Yeah.
And they questioned his best friend, and apparently, by some of the things he said, they suspected he knew something about it. So I think they maybe arrested him under suspicion, and he led them to the body. Now, I knew it was somewhere in the National Forest close to where we lived, but I did not know where. I had no idea where it was at. So, as I said in one of the earlier podcasts, I used to love to collect Indian artifacts, and I would go out and ride around for places to look for Indian artifacts. And, yeah, it was National Forest, and, yeah, you're not supposed to hunt artifacts on National Forest, but
that's what you were
That's
doing.
what I was doing. This was several years ago. I wouldn't do it now. Actually, honestly, at that time, I did not know it was illegal.
Yeah,
I didn't find out until they were building the lake, and we found out the hard way. But anyway, I'm driving down this gravel road in the National Forest, and I'm looking out the window to my right. I'm looking out the passenger side window at this big area where they just cut the timber and cleared it off, and I'm thinking, man, I need to go out there and check that place out. And all of a sudden, this feeling comes over me. It just like evil just came into my truck. My hair stood up on the back of my neck. My blood ran cold. I was like, ooh, I got to get out of here. So I went down to the end of the road where it turned around, and I was coming back out. And when I was coming back out, when I got to the exact spot where I felt that feeling, there was a cross on the side of the road with the victim's name on it.
Yeah.
I had not seen the cross because I was looking out the right side of the truck and it was on my left.
Right.
But I felt it.
I remember you telling me that story.
And I actually talked to my pastor's wife about that, and she said, yeah, those spirits will hang around a place like that because they're there under authority. They have authority to be there.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that's crazy that I felt that strong. And this had been, I don't know, a couple of years after they had found the guy.
Right.
But yeah, discernment is a powerful thing. I'm sure a person could pray for this gift of discernment and God would give it to them.
I believe so. I believe that you can pray, and I've prayed, and the more that I had prayed, even in my younger years, I would begin to pray for the gift of discernment. Sometimes, it can definitely keep you out of bad situations, but then sometimes I feel like the discernment can get so strong, then you're like, oh, I don't even know if I wish that I didn't even have it that strong, I wish that I didn't know sometimes.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something about that. As you were talking about that story, this is kind of it's still about discernment, but, the Lord will show it to you in different ways. Sometimes you can feel it. But sometimes, he'll give you just other ways. I mean, he may let you know about something that's going on in somebody's life. It may be through a song or something like that. It can be through different ways, but that's what happened on one of our other podcasts that we were talking about, when it was like that gut feeling kind of thing, of you need to go home now.
Yeah.
It was
something's
that
wrong.
really strong, go home now. And it wasn't anything wrong at home. It was where God was protecting me from at that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. There's been times in my life when I knew there was something I wanted to do, but I just couldn't do it.
Right. And we talked about on another podcast about you not wanting to get in that car right then and just waiting. And if y'all had waited, but you were a child, possibly that wreck wouldn't have happened. And, your family member, been
Right.
in that wreck had y'all waited.
If
but
my dad hadn't been so hard-headed.
Right, but you were kids, so you...
Yeah, nobody pays attention to what kids say.
Right.
I was begging him, let's wait a little while before we leave because I just had that terrible gut feeling, and he was like, nope, we're leaving now.
We're leaving now, get in the car.
Get in the car.
So y'all can hear that on another podcast.
But yeah, spiritual discernment is a real thing. For those of you that don't have it, pray for God to bless you with the gift of discernment because it
is a gift.
It's a gift, and it's a very powerful gift. It's something that can, like we said, it's something that can keep you. It can prevent you from having to go through things that you wouldn't that you don't want to go through.
So one of the things would be maybe we've even known before. It's like that knowing, that deep, deep, deep knowing, and we've even known. Just a certain person they were talking about getting married to someone, and we were like, no, that's not supposed to happen. It wasn't supposed to happen.
Right.
But they were so determined, and they were blinded by the person that they couldn't see, but we could see far in advance of what was taking place. And they ended up going ahead and getting married, and he was a preacher, and he ended up running around on her with the piano player, I believe. And so but we could feel it ahead of time. We knew the spirit that was behind him. And so God will allow you to do that. What happens if you have that kind of feeling? We were close enough to that person that we felt like we could, tell them and try to talk to them about it and pray for them. They didn't heed that warning, but, I believe it's wisdom to listen to somebody that that does have a spirit of discernment when they're trying to tell you something.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mark, we've talked about one of our other friends that has a really strong gift of discernment before, and we'll have to tell the story at some point about our move and when God says move.
Yeah.
But she has a real gift of discernment, and she had God tell her something about something that was going to take place with her father-in-law.
Yes.
No, her stepfather, I'm sorry, her stepfather, and told us something at the same time. She knew something we were supposed to do and discernment and everything. And we did it. We did, he didn't, and he ended up in the hospital.
Yeah.
Because
and I think wasn't her brother too?
He didn't listen, to that spirit of discernment. I don't remember that part, but
yeah, I think but we'll get into that on another episode. But yeah,
y'all hang tight with us. We're working on some different topics and things. So,
well, we appreciate y'all being with us today. I think that's about all we've got. Like and rate the show, rate and review, follow, whatever your podcast player will allow you to do. Help us spread the word. And if you enjoy it, send us a text message. There's a link on the podcast player that says send us a text message. You don't need our phone number to do that. You just click on the link and type in your message, and it sends it to the podcast provider, and they send it to our phone.
Right.
So you don't need our phone number. Just click the link, and it's just like sending an email.
Right.
So let us know what you think. Send us a message. And
don't we have is there a Facebook group or page or something
that
you've set up?
We have a Facebook page, and we also, these episodes also go to YouTube.
Right.
The problem we're having with YouTube is we're getting the clicks, but people are not watching it all the way through because it's just audio.
Right.
People go to YouTube to watch videos. So we're going to try to see if we can maybe start doing some video podcasts that will go to YouTube.
They're listening through on our podcast stuff because they know it's not video. But
right, but when they go to YouTube and they realize there's no video, there's only audio, they click off of it. So
we're working on it.
Yeah, we're working on doing some different things, and hopefully we'll be able to get it all together. And we've got quite a few people that are lined up that want to be guests, and we're trying to work all that out and get their time lined up with our time, because we don't have a lot of time to do this. We our work schedules do not allow us to just come in and sit down and record anytime we get ready. So when we get some things lined up and get the technology part worked out, we're going to have some guests in. So y'all be listening for that.
Well, thank y'all for joining us today. We hope that you've enjoyed something that we've had to share, been able to share with you today. Like you said, don't forget to help, rate, review, like, subscribe, whatever it is that it shows up on your end, and send us a message. And we look forward to being with you again.
Thank y'all for joining us today on Tell Me That Story. God bless you.
Blessings. Bye-bye.